Hey, here we go. Welcome back. We are Arya Nagarjuna investigators. It is March 12th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do, please. Bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Studying karma and emptiness, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing, and into an intention, and maybe even into a determination. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Nirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community, through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest. Sharing in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community, through the merit that I do in sharing in this investigation and the rest. May we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community, through the merit that I do in sharing in this investigation and the rest. May all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. If I'm recalling correctly, we managed to get all the way through chapter 7's review last week. And then we had the thought to go back and apply it to a variety of functioning things, such as our mental afflictions. Am I remembering that, or did I dream that?
I thought it was specifically the mental affliction of ignorance.
Okay, good. That's the one I worked on too. So let's do our usual opening and then kind of remember ourselves through the different chapters so we get to chapter 7. And let's see what we came up with this. Anyway, let's see what we come up with. So Elsie's up there at the top of my screen again. Would you start us off, please?
Thank you, Lama. Opening. Here I've made a song for you on the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this text is called Prashna Nama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Sewe Shiklo Japashara. In English, we call it wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious gentle voice in his skies as a teenage boy.
Yeah. And Janet, 1.1, please.
I bow down to the highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one, who teaches us to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest.
And Joanna, 1.2.
You. I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence, nothing ends and nothing begins, nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are any two the same.
And Pauline, 1.3.
Sure, teacher. Nothing grows from itself, nothing grows from something else. Nothing grows from both, and nothing grows without a cause. There is nothing at all that grows at all.
Do you remember when this was so confusing?
Yes.
I'm hoping it's less confusing now.
Better.
Yeah, better, that's good. Mm. I was reviewing Lama Christie's classes, and I came across her reminding her class that Arya Nagarjuna's root text wisdom is specifically about that, about not just about what is this thing, wisdom. It's the wisdom that understands the not self-existent cause and effect. So it's a text that's addressing causes and results, the relationship between causes and results. It's not just addressing, do things have their own natures? It's about our belief in the self-existent nature of things causing other things to happen. Right? So it's investigating dependent origination. Right? It's investigating. So chapter 1 was about all those ways that we worldly believe things can have relationships of cause and effect, how things interact with each other. And he went through, these are all the different ways that we believe things interact with other things. And there's no other way than that. There's no fifth condition. You remember chapter 1. And then he goes and he says, well, let's look at each one of those and see if they really can function in the way that we believe they are functioning. And then, right, so chapter 1 gave us clues as to how to do the investigation. I'm not remembering so specifically. Then by the end of it, he's saying, so see, cause and effect has no nature of its own. But he says cause and effect has no nature. And then our misunderstanding mind goes, no nature, what? It doesn't happen at all? What? Yes, it does. Why? Because like I do things. I do things. I do so cause other things to happen. And he goes, okay, so in order to cause anything to happen, we have to go from this place to that place to get to the thing that we're going to do something with, right? So his chapter 2 was let's investigate that goer going gone, right? He doesn't really directly address our yeah, but he goes deep underneath the yeah, but. So we learned how to investigate the goer going gone, but more in the sense of how to investigate this moment going to that moment, going to that moment, going to that moment. And does, when you string all those moments together, that to make our experience be what it is has it happened in the ordinary way, or has it appeared to happen in some other way? So then from what? No goer going? That can't be true. We get to chapter 3 that I'm not remembering what it is right now. And then from 3, whatever that was, it was like, what? And we plowed our way through all these different yeah buts to get to chapter 6, which was the desire and the one who desires. And then he showed like what comes first, your desire or the thing that you desire. Like if you are two separate things and your desire is a third thing, there must be some moment, they must both exist and then they touch, and our desire, our pleasure comes from it. And he investigated, where do those things touch? You know, and if they're not, if they don't exist, they can't touch. And if they do exist, they can't touch. So what's really going on? And, you know, the conclusion is, oh, so the one who desires and the desire we have, you know, they have no nature. And our Kachik goes, yes, they do. Because I do so feel the pleasure from eating the berry pie. Like I do so do something to get berry pie, to get the pleasure of the berry pie, which chapter 6 showed it's like those are not related. And it's like, yeah, they have to be related. So chapter 7 is his response to our saying, I am so a functioning thing, right? The berry pie does so function to give me pleasure. And so chapter 7 was about produce things. It doesn't say that. Now let's investigate how berry pie brings you pleasure. It investigates starting, stopping, and staying. Because in order for something to be a functioning thing, it has to have these 3 qualities. And in a sense, you could say it has to be able to impart those 3 qualities to something else. So to be a functioning thing, you have to start. The thing has to be there. So it has to start. And it has to start doing its function. And then it has to stay doing its function for some period of time for the function to be happening. And then it has to finish for the function to have happened, right? The pen has to write and then finish writing for us to say, I wrote with the pen. So he's not specifying whether he's talking about us as a functioning thing or the pen as a functioning thing, or, you know, it doesn't really matter. And he doesn't specify whether he's talking about the thing doing the function or the thing getting functioned upon, but it all applies. The same argument applies to all of it. If I can effect a change of something else, I have to start doing it. There has to be a moment I start doing it. There has to be a moment I am doing it. And there has to be a moment I finish doing it. And if those things are happening in the way we believe they are, I pick up the pen, I write the love letter, I finish the love letter, I made a love letter. For that to have happened in the way that we think, we should be able to pinpoint when it starts, when it stays, and when it finishes. Shouldn't we? Like, isn't that logical? And so if we go looking for when it starts, right? We went into that long series of verses about finding the start of the start. And it was a chapter where he's going back and forth with our Kachik, because our critique is saying, yes, it does. This just starting starts the whole thing, like the butter lamp lights itself and it lights everything around it. And then Nagarjuna says, well, no, it doesn't actually, right? Because there's an edge to where the light lights up something and doesn't light up something else. So let's find that. Where does the light stop lighting? So he like takes every one of our kachik yeah buts in the chapter and says, well, let's just look at it. He doesn't say, no, you're wrong. He says, let's look, and helps us come to our own conclusion. So in chapter 7, it was starting, staying, stopping, which once you learn how to see that we can't find where anything actually starts, then we see that applies to staying and stopping as well. And then in the end, right, our chapter 7, it's like, what? Nothing I ever do does anything at all? Wrong conclusion from understanding, oh, none of that has any nature of its own. None of it is happening, not by way of our experience of it happening. So to say seeds ripening means our unique experience, right? What's happening now is each one of our seeds ripening. But even still, when I hear myself say, oh, seeds ripening, I feel like a part of me going, oh, so it's less real than it was before I said, oh, it's just seeds ripening. And every time I feel that, so it's less real, it's like, wrong, right? Because the wise conclusion of hearing it's seeds ripening would be, oh, that explains everything. Right? Oh, that makes it more real. And just the words, projections, they are accurate, but the reaction tends to be if, like a dream, like a mirage, right? All those examples, metaphors that are used in the teachings, they are meant to show us that the reality that we believe we walk around in is not this solid, real thing. But then we get into trouble with that word real. It's like things being projections are real. Self-existent things are not. Not just not real, they are not at all. They are impossible. So then at the end of the chapter, he says, and this applies to everything that functions. And my mind was still thinking, okay, every material thing. And then it's like, wait, there are other functioning things, like thoughts, like beliefs, like mental afflictions, like, oh, ignorance. Let's see how chapter 7 applies to our ignorance. So, investigators, how do we do? Let's go down to chapter 7 in case we might want to use it. Shrink this so you can be bigger. So I found this really difficult. Like I came up with more questions than actual using the chapter to explain that my ignorance has no self-nature, which is true, right? So what'd you come up with? I'll shut up. You guys teach me. How did chapter 7 help you investigate your ignorance?
Well,
Janet, you unmuted. Go for it.
as I review the ACI homework meditations and questions, you know, I was doing the 3 types of compassion, and the one that leaped out at me was compassion with no focus.
Yeah.
So that is, of course, dark ignorance. What the heck is dark ignorance? And it's the ignorance that what we're seeing is coming from our own side,
Right.
not the other person.
Right.
And it's all over the place. Dark ignorance is everywhere. I went to a dinner at Deer Park and I sat down and I sat next to a lady that was a nurse and I told her I was a CNA, and immediately she wanted to recruit me to take care of a Dharma person, an ex-nun that just got diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I was like, oh my God, time. And I told her, well, you know, I'm not going to reach out to them. The family has to reach out to me because it's coming from me, obviously. And I said, you know, I'll do the Vajrasattva 100-syllable mantra in the meantime. And I'll be in the background. And I sent a really quick email to Lama Sumati, just, you know, because I was asking him about the source of all my good, and I reached out to him a little bit. And I was like, does this mean, are these clues about people I'm supposed to serve? It's
Interesting.
not about the Parkinson's. It's not about the Parkinson's. He's talked about the Parkinson's. He said it isn't about, just about being, I don't know, inconvenienced, or, you know,
Yeah.
there's the biological, but there's other stuff going on. And it all boils down to that we're just not omniscient. And of course, the husband of this ex-nun is Pakistani, and he thinks the solution is to move back to Pakistan because you can get people in your home country to take care of you. And then the caregiving's different in other countries, which I get.
Yeah.
But right now, there's a lot of talk in America about leaving America, about how a lot of people don't want to live here anymore. And if you have friends in Canada, they're not going to come visit you. Maybe you should go visit the friends in Canada. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, there's a lot more going on here other than just this ex-nun's Parkinson's. There's this whole conversation with her family about moving to Pakistan. And there's all these people that are wondering if they're in their later years, if they want to stay here or if they want to go someplace else where they can get caregiving and there's family. And I texted the lady back and I said I'd do the 100-syllable mantra, and I looked at my dark ignorance. And you know, it's easier. Some things are easier and some things are harder. This one was actually not very hard. You had a hard time, but I'm not having a hard time because I know it's coming from me, like who I'm supposed to serve and help. And you can't help everybody, right? And I have been looking for a heart llama, right? And Show Me Showers, she's great, but she's not of our lineage. And my Ne Lama said the heart llama is someone of the lineage, so I'm like looking for a heart llama. And so maybe these are clues as to that question, like who is that? And then I asked my Ne Lama, can Manjushri or the medicine Buddha? And he said, no, it's not one of the big deities. It's usually someone within the lineage. It's Arya Nagarjuna because that's what we're studying. But I guess I have to keep looking at what is coming to me from my seeds. So the
Right.
dark ignorance is that stuff's coming from my own side. And there's also some small teaching elements that I'm experiencing because I asked for teaching. So obviously I'm receiving teachings. But I'm very fanciful. I think cats talk, and you know, I think that everyone around me is a teacher. And then I'm told that that's what practicing Tantra is, and I'm already practicing it, but then people tell me I'm crazy. I'm crazy. And then I'm like, I don't know if I should practice Tantra because it'll just make it worse. So yeah. I'm just looking at, and I'm in a different situation than other people on this call, because the Geisha Michael says, who sits around and reads, the Mula Maria Maka Karika? I mean, I can go to dinners with people who know what that is, and some of them who've studied it, and they are still thinking that Parkinson's comes from their own side, even though they're studying the same thing. But then when I say it and I'm doing a 100-syllable mantra, they don't blink an eye. They're just glad I'm doing the 100-syllable mantra. And as far as the um the alchemy people go, I feel like they brought me this far. They have. They're like the Abhidharmas for me. They brought me this far. And if I can help them in a heartbeat, I would. And that remains out there too, like how I be kind to them. I probably should have said nothing at all about emptiness to them. That was the mistake I made. I should have said nothing unless they asked me. I should have
Unless
said
they ask.
nothing.
Yeah. Yes.
So, I got to be nice to the people that helped me in the past, even if they don't agree with what I'm doing now or understand it. That's an ignorance that comes from that I didn't understand it. And there are things I don't understand now that I'll probably understand later.
Mhm.
And then when I see people who have mental illness or physical illness, it's coming from my own side, but it's not quite as simple as healing them. There's probably some small lessons there too. And it has to do with the lack of omniscience that we have. We just don't see everything.
That's absolutely true. So is that ignorance a functioning thing?
In the case of the teaching, the Buddha saw death and sickness. In the case of me, I'm seeing Dharma members with Parkinson's. It is functioning because it's teaching me something. It's teaching me to help someone, either to have them be a heart lama or to do a purification practice.
Mhm.
Once I do the stuff I've been instructed, I'm assuming that other stuff will come up actually. So it's like you go looking, you go looking for something and you rip open the vacuum cleaner bag and you think it's in there. And then you found something else that you vacuumed.
Good point. Good point. Yes, Pauline.
Teacher, I heard the recording because I was absent last week. So, yeah, I heard teacher mention to find out about ignorance, but I thought I also heard teacher mention about mental afflictions. So I'd like to share on blaming and anger. It just
Okay.
happened this afternoon. Yeah, I did some spring cleaning, so I threw away some old belts. I didn't throw away, sorry. I gave it to my part-time cleaner. And then my husband wanted to went looking for that belt, that particular belt that I threw away. And he was like quite unhappy. So when I came back from the gym, my son told me, he said, Daddy is looking for that belt. I said, oh, I thought it's yours. I told my son, because I checked with my son said it's not his. So I thought I did check with my husband, but he was unhappy about it. So I caught myself there. I realized I did something wrong, even though I feel blame. Then I feel unhappy as well and some anger. So I said sorry. Okay. And then he started ranting, saying that, how do you like it if I throw away your stuff? He said, don't you be surprised if you come back and can't find your stuff. Then I was like, oh, really, my anger like start to rage. I feel it. So basing on this example, then I was thinking, where does it start? The blaming and the anger. And then it seems like when he accused me of throwing things without asking him permission. But after that, it seems to stop because I realized that I did something wrong and I said sorry, right? Then after that, it started again because he said, how do you like it if I throw away your stuff? So it really seemed like if you were to pinpoint, you really can't find it. Where it starts and then where is the happening and then where it actually stops. But it really feels like what Nagarjuna says. If you pinpoint, you can't find it. And it seems like there are a few seeds here because I actually, after that, I went to think about it. And then sometimes after brooding over it, I still have some anger. So does it mean it stopped? No, it came up again.
Right.
And then after that, it's like up and down, up and down. So from here, this scenario, it really shows me that there are a few seeds. It may seem like connected a single situation, but if you really analyze it, you can understand why Nagarjuna pinpointed. You can't actually, it seems like a functioning thing because
Yeah.
it seems to start and seems to be in a process and then seems to stop. But you actually pinpoint, you can't find it. And how is it that it starts and stops?
Right.
That's my sharing. So,
and so what was your conclusion then?
my conclusion is I have blamed someone and angered someone in the past. And after that, I do have some wise seed because I come to realize that I was in the wrong. I apologize.
Yeah.
But then again, so many seeds that I realize is ripened because after that, I still continue to brood over it, which there is some ignorance there, right? If not, I wouldn't continue to brood over it.
Right.
Yeah, there's some ignorance there. I still feel that it has some self-nature from my husband accusing me because I did really felt that I did ask him, is this yours? Do you still want it? But he claimed I did not. But anyway, I apologize because since he says so, he said, if you would have asked me, I would have said, yes, it's mine. And you wouldn't have given it away.
Yeah.
So there are many, many seeds ripening, as you can see, blaming, anger, ignorance, still brooding over the thing. And then my end conclusion will be, yeah, I'm glad I'm in Nagarjuna class.
Really? Yay.
Yeah, that's my sharing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
nice.
It's very, very difficult to catch when, in the midst of the situation. Yeah, mental afflictions is really suffering. You can say that how well you have learned and practiced, but when it comes, it hit you on the face, it's very, very difficult. But I'm glad in between, I caught myself, I wouldn't have said sorry, right?
Right.
But I'm also glad that I saw the whole process and I filter it, and I can see my ignorance is there because I still continue to brood over it. By brooding, I'm planting more seeds through thoughts, right? It's gonna come back. But I cannot help it.
Right.
That's my sharing.
So you're able to recognize that the blame factor.
Yes.
I
feel I'm blamed.
Included, right? Included in the response, right? That he had and that you had. And that blame factor is a glimpse into our misunderstanding, our ignorance. It's not it exactly, but it's the result of our ignorance. Are absolutely sure that
I've asked him.
Yeah. Good, nice. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Joanna.
Personally, I find it easier for me if there's this kind of obvious suffering. So there's a situation, something comes up, and then it's easier in that moment for me to catch the ignorance and come back to the thought that it comes from me. But what I thought or found more difficult for myself is the pervasive suffering. So if there's an ongoing situation that has been like this for a long time, and that seems to gradually get worse and worse, for this I feel myself more blaming and not remembering the ignorance. And when I try to work with those thoughts, I feel kind of overwhelmed. So there must be so many of those seeds, and I'm still perpetuating them, and I'm doing so much, and I try to do my practice, and I try to, and so on and so on. And then it's hard for me to find the beginning or even the start of the ending. It would be cool to know, where am I in the process? And maybe I'm more than halfway through and it will end soon. That would be so awesome. But there's situations that are just like for years like that, and it's always there. So we kind of think it's normal. And like many of us have this financial thing coming and going, and then there's some dissatisfaction in your life with some current theme, like there's always doubts coming or not feeling to be able to live up to this really potential that we try to strive for. And there's these, or not feeling free to do whatever we want. There's always things that prevent, that from the outside keep us from doing what we really want. So these kind of themes that are not like the obvious situation that is hitting you strong in a certain moment, but it's really ongoing theme. And these are really, for me, the more challenging ones. Also to try to attack the ignorance part. And it's really feeling this kind of stuck, like having the feet in the swamp, and you just try to get your feet out, and you don't know. I mean, like, it's dark, and am I at the beginning of the swamp? Am I in the middle? Is it the last step that I have to do? It's just so exhausting. And there I found myself blaming a lot, like when I try to figure out what's the real problem. My automatic mode is rather going for, there's someone else doing this, there's the society, there's like the situations that also Janet said, that there's, big development in the country and now it boils up, but it has been there for so long time, and these kind of things. So here I really got stuck with Nagarjuna. To my mind knows, or the intellect says, okay, it's your seeds, and I can say, yes, it's my seeds. It's like, so what does it make for a difference now? What am I doing here? Whatever I
how does it
tried,
help?
I don't see it.
Yeah.
So this.
Yeah, how does it help to recognize, like, what are we trying to recognize? That this whole constant stuck in the mud, can't know really what's needed for self-other interaction between. Sorry, lost my train of thought.
Well, to touch them in a kind manner, to touch them from a lower manner, that.
Right. And what else is there to do? Then despite the, I don't like this, I don't want to do it, right? To be nice anyway. And if you can't be nice, walk away. Be brave enough to walk away. Society says, no, you can't just walk away. You have to stay there and deal with it. Well, okay, deal with it nicely. But what if, like, the situation is something where what you have to do is gonna be unpleasant for the other person, and there's just no way around it. They're not gonna like it.
And we are not gonna like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
because
you're in this situation, you have to do it.
yeah, because this is something that I'm currently facing. Um, as you know, my husband has gone for DBS, and he's supposed to go in for his first programming, but somehow the specialist says, "Oh, he's not ready." because there are certain situations that would determine when he's ready for the first programming, because according to them, the first programming is supposed to be the most important, which I understand, because they want him to be at the worst situation before they can turn on his device to program it in such a way that it would benefit him most.
Oh,
But my thoughts are, this whole process is supposed to reduce his suffering, reduce his inconvenience. But it seems that he's supposed to be worse. He's supposed to go one level down before they can bring him up. And in the
well, that's a
meantime,
metaphor.
while waiting, and I didn't want to the situation to worsen too badly, I got him into physiotherapy classes, sessions once a week, at least an hour. And another one, they call it the occupational therapy, where they deal with his mental parts and all his cognitive intelligence. And also, so he's going 2 hours a week for that. So, and he's supposed to come back and practice what he learns, especially the physiotherapy part. But he's not doing it. And I have to keep harping on him to get it done. So after the first week, I got so frustrated. So what I did was, the second session, I took a video of what was taught. And then after that, I sent it to my son. I said, please make sure your dad does these exercises, at least a series, or one set of each, once or twice a week before the next session. Because if I'm gonna harp on him again, my volume would go up. And when my volume goes up, he doesn't feel nice. I wouldn't feel nice.
Right.
So yeah, I think we should also protect ourselves. And I'm happy that, we have now got into classes where we learn how to recognize when we are getting into a rut.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I step off. I leave it to somebody else to supervise it. Maybe, their seats are comparable. They will get it done.
Right.
And without my interference. So at the moment, we are still waiting for the date for the first programming. It has been postponed. It's supposed to be next Monday, but it has been postponed. And partly I will look at it as our seeds, and whatever that maybe the good seeds has not fully ripened yet. And when I heard of the postponement, my brain just went, why did we go into this in the first place? Why did we start this whole cycle of things? So
Yeah.
okay, that's not my decision. It was his decision, so just accept it.
Right.
It's my seat to be seeing this, and I have to constantly remind myself not to throw away my pen, which I think
Right.
I have quite often this year. I've done it quite often.
Yeah. I know the absurdity of our seeds ripening sometimes is just astonishing, isn't it? It's like back to the not omniscient.
Yeah.
And then that's the reading, the act of starting. You're like, why did it start? And then the reading is, suppose you're starting.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, does our ignorance start, stay, and stop? Is it a thing that we have in us that's there all the time?
Yeah, I think it's part of the underlying seeds that is continuous in our lives.
Yeah,
And
so are there seeds for ignorance independent of what we're ignorant of? No,
mm,
right? There
it's
can't
our
be
lack
this
of wisdom.
thing, ignorance, that we have. It has to be inside every seed, doesn't it? And it has no nature other than that. How does that land? Your
I mean,
ignorance has no nature.
there's so much of it. It's not like you can really avoid the dark ignorance. There's just a lot of it out there in our
I
past
know.
deeds.
It is. But does that leave you feeling like, oh, well, then I give up? Because if every seed is colored with it, even the pen thing is colored with it, impossible, I can't get out. I might as well give up and go eat chocolate.
No, it's because we're students and we're practicing and we never really paid attention to this stuff before. So now that we're paying attention, we're noticing how much of it there is.
Right.
And it's a challenge to us to clear as much of this ignorance as we can.
Right. If ignorance had its own nature, could we get rid of it?
No, no, we won't do
If
it.
the absurdity of your husband's Parkinson's situation has its own nature, could it be there?
Mm.
No. Is it real? Is it happening? Yes.
Yes.
Is his Parkinson's unique to you?
Yes.
Yes. Is his Parkinson's unique to him? Yes.
Mhm.
Is it the same experience?
No.
So clear, right?
Mm. I see it as he's not making an effort. He should be doing this. But to him, I've got no energy. No, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
And because that's what he tells me.
Right.
And I say, no, you should push. No, you should fight it.
I know. We have no clue, right? I'm seeing more and more clearly. You know, it's like, Samanti, just stand up straight. Just straighten your knees, just to, and he looks at me like, you know, if I could, I would. And I can't comprehend being in a body that you can't make do what you want it to do, especially when I've seen him my whole life of being somebody who was capable of doing anything. You
Yep.
know, a strong,
Yes.
athletic,
Mm.
could do anything. And
And
now seeds shift. And it's like, and my reaction too is just do it, just try harder, just what's the matter with you, you know? And it's all right. That's from my side. He has his from his side. And the two can either do this or they can do this, right? And you know, I struggle too. Yes, Roxana.
Thank you, dear Lama. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I try to imagine what it would be like to clear away ignorance, to wash it away, to purify it. And I have a mala here with me, and I kind of imagine that it says where it says, suppose you starting of the starting act is to start the original starting. I don't know which one started my life, right? And I can imagine that each one of the beats has been one of my lives. And I go, oh my God. So in each one of these, I've made so many actions that have been stained with ignorance. It would be so overwhelming just to imagine the quantity of seeds that I need to clear, that I need to purify. So, but if I were to do that, to really be overwhelmed, then I wouldn't do anything. And I thought, well, you should have a goal. Just as you thought when you wanted to take the Bodhisattva vows, how you practice, how you pretended that you were already a Bodhisattva. Well, I think I should try to be Bodhisattva in level 1 and clear all those mental seeds that are in my foundation consciousness, just to name a place where they could be. So you can have wisdom, mirror wisdom, and then take it to the next level. But if I don't have if I don't have a path to where to go, then I won't get there. I will be just stuck, overwhelmed, not knowing where to start, where to go. So I think that all of us have different situations in life that appear to us as a certain reality, but we need to kind of unfold it a little bit more deeper and look at in so many different ways. Like I had to come home because Mario asked me to please come back because we had a family going through a crisis. He was in the intensive care unit. So when I got to Hermosillo, I got immediately to the hospital. And then I noticed that another person was also at the intensive care unit whom I loved very much. And I saw so much grief. So that's suffering. That's one kind of suffering. And I was grieving too, but I think that in a more intellectual way, probably not as I would want to with more wisdom, because I thought somebody else to grieve. I've caused pain and I'm also suffering, and I'm perpetuating this suffering by me suffering as well. So do some Tanglen, Roxana, do things differently, but stop the suffering. There's no suffering. It has no nature at all. Just, it doesn't mean that I'm not feeling it or that I'm not sensible, but I should start acting differently as well, not to repeat certain habits that we have or certain conditions in life. So I think that to stop ignorance, at least at the level that I am, because I know I need to learn so many other things. Each time that I learn something, I go, oh my God, there's more to learn, because I think I'm getting it, but the puzzle's getting a little bit wider and bigger. I think that I shouldn't feel overwhelmed, number one. I should act as I am already a bodhisattva on level 1. If I know what it means that to be a bodhisattva in level 1, to have a specific goal in mind, and to try to analyze, at least intellectually, a little bit more deeper the reality that I think that I am perceiving, and see how it could lead me to clear away more seeds. So that was my understanding, dear Lama.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you said this beautiful thing with the mala and all the lives, and every life there's so many countless seeds that we've planted. Good ones and not so good ones, but all of them still ignorant ones, and so still perpetuating suffering even in our kindness. And then you said, and I have so many seeds I need to purify. And something struck me there is that a common theme in every single one of those seeds is this thing called ignorance. This belief that things are what they appear to be. So our ignorance is a belief.
Right.
It's not a thing, it's a
Yes.
belief in
It's
something.
a belief. That's right.
Right. And so it's inside every single seed. So we can think, I have all these seeds, some for stealing, some for killing, some for this, some for that. And I need to do all these things to burn off or purify all those different things. And because there is this common thing, the belief inside each one of them, when we work on that belief and purify that belief, we affect every single seed.
Right.
So it
Right.
changes every single seed when we work on cracking that
The no
belief.
nature.
Right. Cracking that no nature, which is why you see having the direct perception of the no self nature of everything is such a powerful experience, because it's done something to every seed that's taken a wind out of its sail. It doesn't damage them all so much that they won't go off, as we know. But once the belief is gone, the seed that had the belief, when it ripens, the belief is not there anymore. Right? That's what we hear is described as being Arya Anur Bodhisattva Bhumis, is you still blame the stupid driver, but you don't even believe your own experience of blaming them. It's like, oh, that's just the seed, done and gone, done and gone. So we then apply ourselves to living according to what we now know is true, even as the seeds with the old belief are still ripening. They've still changed. They're different than they would have been had they ripened without us having seen emptiness directly. But every time we struggle with it, to unbelieve that belief, we are damaging the belief factor that's in every seed. It's really powerful to catch that.
It is. But also, I think that if you observe enough what's going on, you're getting the pattern. Remember that I told you last week that I was cleaning my mom's bathroom, and that this specifically blouse, I just wore it intentionally, got stained with Clorox.
Yeah.
When I came home and I washed it, there's no stain at all.
You are amazing. You
And
unbleached
it
your
wasn't
blouse.
there. The stains were exactly here in the heart level.
Yeah, nice.
And so that's my answer. I mean, it can be done.
Right. Can be done.
It
Right.
can be done.
Is
Yes.
being done.
It is being
It
done.
is being
Right.
done.
It
Right.
is being done. Right. And I think that we just need to observe more.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of people to talk to with here at home, so my best friend is my mind. And Mario's home also, but he doesn't talk about what we do. And I don't talk to other people, usually only you guys. But it's nice to have your mind as your best friend,
Mhm.
because you're contemplating constantly. The aware is always on.
Right.
So last night I had friends come over because it was my best friend's birthday, and we've been together since kindergarten. And those are my friends that are been with me my whole life. But I feel more closely to 5 of them than to one of those. And I go, where's your equanimity, Roxana? You're supposed to love them equally.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to beat myself up, but I go, you notice it. And that's wonderful. You're working on it.
Right.
You're not neglecting the other one. You're also trying to love her as well as the other ones. And you're giving them the same presence, and you're seating them in your house. And I mean, those are great seeds. And I'm working toward that equanimity, to that ignorance as well. So we have
Good.
so many opportunities.
We do.
Yes,
We
we
do.
do. Thank you for listening. Thank you,
Yes.
Dilema.
So let's take our break. Yeah. Get refreshed. Let's see what else we can figure out. Pause. I'm pausing the recording. Hey, are you back? Okay, don't look so you don't get dizzy. I'm scrolling fast. So let's think about chapter 7 as if the topic of his investigation was the produced thing or the functioning thing, our ignorance. So if our ignorance is a thing that is the cause of all our suffering, and that ignorance is this belief that things, identities and qualities are in them, from them. Anytime we blame something or someone for anything we experience, our ignorance is doing its thing. It's producing its result. Could we say that? And then Nagarjuna would know that we're even thinking wrongly about our ignorance as being the real cause for why Pauline's husband got angry with her, for the real cause for why Elsie's husband won't do his exercises, for the real cause. It is our ignorance is the real cause of everything. So if our ignorance is the real functioning thing that is the cause of all suffering, then we should be able to find it. Like, in order to overcome it, like any enemy, we would have to be able to recognize it and then, right, have some power over it in order to overcome it. And in order to recognize it, we would have to be able to recognize when it starts doing its thing, the thing that it's doing as it stays, And we should be able to find a moment that it stops. Stops doing its thing. So that would be one way to investigate ignorance, is if we can never actually pinpoint when it starts making us believe that they did that to me, well then, does it negate that they did that to me? No, they did. But does it change our blame factor? Like, can it help us reduce that going back over it again and again and again with the they did that to me, I'm suffering? When we understand, wow, I can't really find how that situation happened in the way I think it happened. It doesn't
So
negate that it happened. Yes, Janet.
this is the issue that the alchemists have with Buddhism. They say the Buddhists just want to blame themselves. And I get that. I get
Yeah.
that they say that, but you have to move through the blaming yourself to the admitting you don't know what's going on. But somehow they're stuck on that we're just blaming ourselves and we're hard on ourselves. It's coming from our own seeds. And they're not going to, well, what could things be without our seeds?
Right. With different seeds.
And the thing is, maybe it's hard to have that shape-shifting, the change. The alchemists are all about change.
Yeah.
The metal into gold, they're all about that. But,
Yeah.
my ignorance is showing me that I'm resisting change. So I see these people resisting change. But
Right.
don't we want the change? Because
Yeah.
if you don't want the change, you're going to get stuck on blaming yourself. But if you realize it's coming from you and then there's a change, there could be some sort of trauma. That's absolutely true. And maybe that's why we take this all slow, so it isn't too much change all at once. But the whole point, I thought, of seeing the world without your mental afflictions is then you have the shaping, the shifting, changing, and then you're gonna experience the change. And hopefully it isn't something wrathful or dramatic, I don't know. But this is maybe why there's a basis on being nice and being a good person, because we're not trying to obliterate our ignorance. We're trying to go for change for good. I mean, I think you are. You're trying to create the Buddha paradise. You're not
Right.
just trying to kill ignorance. You'd like
Right.
to offer a world that is a teaching world. You would like to offer a teaching world to everyone.
Right. Right. When I use the word blame in our, I don't use that word to new people, and I don't use that word outside a Dharma wise group, because it has a negative connotation, right? Which is what I'm hearing the alchemist group taking it to be a bad thing for blaming ourselves. But when I use the blame factor word, I use it for its harshness intentionally for those who I know like are on the level that will hear it accurately, because I'm trying to kick my own butt, right? So the thing with the connection between the infinite changeability of things, which is what the alchemists really have, right? There's nothing they can't change into something else. And physics, right? Same. Science gets to the same place. They don't connect how it is that then they can actually make something into something else. They see that it's possible, but they don't connect the dot between morality and the result. And if we don't connect that dot, and you hear the Buddhists say everything is your own karma, it's your own fault, you're to blame for everything, it has a negative connotation. Because when we're blamed, it's like we can't do anything about it. But when we understand that the reason they can change iron to gold is, if that's a good result, is because they were in some way kind, right? And generous, if gold means that you have something of greater value. And when we connect that dot to say, it's all my seeds is liberating. The personal responsibility is liberating. Now there's nothing I can't create. You know, it's going to take time because I've got selfish habits and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But blame becomes an empowerment versus egads, I'm so bad. So that's
This
the
is
misunderstanding there.
this is a stance from the Galuka school. This is how our school looks at it, and other
Yeah.
schools don't necessarily. So when I say the alchemist, I mean like maybe one specific person, because there was a lady that lived in Woodstock, New York. She went to the teachings of Bob Thurman. He was teaching there. She understands, but unless it's someone from our school, they want to experience the change. They want to see the change. They think it's coming from their own side or from a teacher.
Right.
And the Gelugpa school is teaching you to be your own alchemist.
Yes.
And maybe that's something that's unheard of. How could you have the arrogance to think that you could be like that? But they don't
Right.
look at it that way. They look at it as a teaching path. And it's just
Right.
too much explaining unless there are other people that have lived in communities where people are teaching this. And there was one lady that lived in New York and she was in that community. So it isn't all the alchemists. And I happen to live in Madison where, you know, I sent a license plate. Someone had Shamatha on their license plate. I mean, it's just different here. It's different in places where there are communities and our online community than where they're not exposed to schools that are of that where you are your own alchemist. Because
Yeah.
then you said then you're a know-it-all, you're arrogant.
Yes.
Oh my God. So what do you do? You know, what do you do? I
You
hope that
keep
there's
your
more
mouth shut
Galupas.
and you be kind. Yeah.
Oh,
You
Yeah,
wait until
but
it
where
passes.
is it that there, I have a question here, Nama, but I haven't been in an alchemist group like you do, but what is the purpose of it? What's the goal for the an alchemist?
it's the
Where
same
is the
goal.
point to reach? Hmm?
It's the same goal. It's the same goal because if you even read their material, like there's a Wisconsin bubbler and I had a breakup and I sat next to it and I couldn't feel bad about it. And then if you read it, they said, what would your experience be without your thoughts projecting on it? It's the same goal. But they don't see it that way. They see it as somebody else created it so you can experience it. Hey, you know, I'm glad I experienced it. And then I asked Lama Sarani, is 20 minutes of emptiness meditation our goal? And her honest answer was, well, it's a start. So you can see emptiness directly with the products. You could see emptiness directly because the projection of your seeds. But if you want to work on it, so you could see it 20 minutes at a time, and then maybe someday you can like it's a nuclear bomb. You don't want to do it all the time, but you can choose to do it in hard situations and not care what the results are because you're practicing. That's a totally different practice than just feeling good because you had a breakup, you know, or feeling neutral. I felt nothing. I didn't feel bad. I mean, I wake up and I feel sad. I do. I feel a lot of emotions. But when you have really intense emotions and then you don't feel it, and normally you do, you realize there's another way of being in this world, you know?
Yeah.
So in that
Yeah.
case, I was in the middle of something. I was in the middle of feeling grief and loss. And then I was able to not feel it in that moment. And I mean, I'm assuming that products were about not projecting your thoughts. And then it goes away. And the next step for me is to do a meditation would be, you know, in certain instances to use that to not project when I'm seeing you know, the people around me in my country suffering because they're blaming somebody. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, it's over and over again, we're being told that that's coming from our own side. But
Yeah.
the conversation continues to be to blame the other people. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's the same goal. And I think that with the teachings, they say that there are gifts all around the world that are buried for us to find individually. And I'm assuming someone has found their gift. And I had the grace to witness that.
Hmm.
And there are many ways to reach this goal of
Yeah.
of not projecting and having a different place. Or I would say maybe control. You can control your situation if you're not a slave to your mental afflictions. So there are many, many ways of going about it. And that's them. I don't know. I think the best way for me to do is to privately try to consider looking at the products with emptiness and give those poor people a break and maybe just not socialize with them as much until I can control my language better. Because I have a terrible potty mouth and I say things that are wrong. And evidently saying the divine, looking at the divine with emptiness is potty mouth. And
Oh my gosh.
Shanti Davis said just say nothing, be a bump on the log. And someone like me needs to really practice that. People are very easily triggered, Roxana. They're very, very easily triggered sometimes. So you have to be really careful and gentle with them. I didn't mean to, but maybe there's a little part of me that did mean to. They call it like weaponizing your Buddhism or weaponizing your spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And I see them doing it to me, and I think I'm doing it to them. And I'm like, this has really got to stop. This is not good at all. This is not what the practices were designed for to do. It's all about you and not about the other person.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing
Good for
and
you.
answering my question.
Yeah.
Probably they'll get there too. Wait, I don't know. Their path might shift a little bit, but
Obviously, and if time doesn't exist, it doesn't really matter. But in
Right.
my world, I'm trying to learn how to meditate for 20 minutes, and that's not what's happening in their world.
And we don't have to impose it on them for them to reap the benefit of our practice. Right? As we shift, so shall everyone. It's hard. It's like, no, but I'm shifting and they're not. Well, wait a minute. Right? When they say Buddha, when you reach Buddhahood, you've satisfied your own goals and all beings' goals. It satisfied the ED, right? Past tense. And it's like, yeah, but somebody's Buddha and I'm still suffering. They haven't satisfied my goals. But the me that they see is done. The me they see me seeing is not done. But the me they see.
It's all about the peacock. You got to outshine everything. But if you want to feel good all the time, that's all good and fine. But you're feeling good even in a hard situation, and that's a bit more challenging.
Right, right. That's that joyous effort. Perfection is once we are at the place from our practicing not getting angry practice, part of that is finding yourself able to enjoy being in situations that make you angry because it's an opportunity, right, to burn off those being made angry seeds and not replant them. So it's like human nature. It's like you can't be happy to be in an unpleasant situation. That's perverted. And it's like, no, actually, that's wisdom. Because now you're not trying to go to this and avoid that. You're just moving through your day. Anything that happens, right? It's an opportunity. If it's nice, share it or burn it off. I mean, share it. It's being burned off either way. Might as well enjoy it. So, beat me up some more, blame me some more, be mean to me some more. Can you imagine? Like, okay. Not just robot. Okay, doesn't matter. Not that. It's like, okay, do it some more. Okay. There will come a time when our seeds have been planted in such a way that will be our response.
I think material things are easy, like the belt, oh, I'll buy you two. Oh,
Yeah.
what about the money? Well, my Dharma group heard about this and they would donate money to
Right. Really. Buying you 2 belts is an opportunity for me to have more. What? It's so fun to have like-minded people. And then you go out, into your world. It's like, where'd they go?
Lama, I think it's something like us when we do Tonglen meditation, when we do Tonglen for somebody else,
Mhm.
we tend to feel that, oh, this person's getting better. But is that person really getting better?
What
Is our
person?
let's say like we're doing like the other time when my aunt was feeling very poorly, and in fact the doctors were telling, oh, she has no hope and things like that, and then my cousins were preparing for her last rites and all, and then they told me, and I said, oh, okay, so when it happens you just tell me. So what I did was I just did Tonglen meditation for her, take away all her sufferings, give her a better health, give her lesser sufferings and all. I was doing it for 4 to 5 days, and then my cousin called me up. Hey, my mom has passed that period of time that was given by the doctors, and I was so happy. Wow, my Tonglen meditation works. You know, I took away her pain and things. I felt so good. And she survived for an extra month before she finally left. You know, but was she really feeling better? Or is it just my perception of her getting better? You know, so sometimes it's like what Janet says. These people are, 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 are saying things that, you know, that she doesn't like to hear. And then she makes comments and things like that. And then I got to thinking, if we were to reply back as per their action, we wouldn't feel good. But if we were to reverse and like to do like Tonglen, to sort of give them whatever that is we want to see in them, then we might see a better picture. But are they changing? We do not know. We just paint a better picture for ourselves.
So those selfish Buddhists, all they do is stuff to benefit themselves. And they pretend they're taking care of other people by doing this breath thing. But they're just motivated to stop their own suffering because they say, I don't know what really happens to anybody else. Those Buddhists, they're really such self-involved slobs.
At least they don't hurt anyone while they are selfish slobs. So it's a good thing.
That's nice. At least they hurt fewer people. Yeah, Elsie asked us, did the ant really benefit from the Tonglen? What would Nagarjuna answer, do you think?
the ant that Elsie is creating in her world. Yes. But the ant that the ant has created in her world, we don't know.
Yeah, and which ant is there?
All of them. The ant that Elsie sees, the ant that now we have in our minds because Elsie told us about it, the
Right.
ant that she sees herself, the ant that her son and kids see. So there are all these Elsies, ants
These Elsie ants, right?
walking in the world in multiple dimensions. This is how I try to make sense of this.
Exactly.
But it's still for me is a question, what you just say. If I am helping, like doing Tonglen, and then I see this XY person improving, am I really helping them or am I just helping myself? You know, like it's because it's my creation, my work, my own Buddhahood. So are these people really existing or is just a play for me
Right.
to become a Buddha? But then if I become a Buddha, what is my work? If I already clean up the badness in my people's world.
Right.
This I haven't been able to
Right.
understand.
Right. Because we're bumping up with our belief, bumping up against our belief that there is a real Elsie's ant. And then there's the one we see, she sees, they see. Okay, but there's a real one. But there, do you see? It's like words start to fail. Is there the ant according to the way the ant sees herself? You're right. Yes, right. There is a person there that Elsie calls Elsie's aunt. And that being experiences themselves in no way similar to the one Elsie knows as Elsie's aunt. And that one that experiences themselves in the way that they do, it experiences themselves probably as a being with their identity in them from them, right? If she's non-Arya, and who knows. But her she is not real in the sense that our ignorance imposed her realness on her, right? She is a consciousness, subject side, changing moment by moment, right? That infinite availability to be whatever is ripening for her and what is ever is ripening for any other that is in her awareness. And that's true for us, right? Different for each of us. And even as we think of her, no, I know in my mind, I'm thinking, there's this somebody, Elsie's aunt. You know, she's gone now, but if she were still in a body, I could go and meet her. And the one I would meet would be Elsie's aunt. Do you see? It's like, just when we say I'm doing Tonglen for Elsie's aunt, we think we use the word self-existent. But we mean so much more than just those words now. Could Tonglen help a self-existent person? No. Can Tonglen help a not self-existent person? Why would you bother? Because a not self-existent person is no such thing. Wait, yes, there is such a thing. And so, yes, Tonglen can help, but does it every single time? No. So Tonglen can't do anything. So why do
No,
it?
but it's the same like for anything else, right? So if
Exactly.
nothing can do anything at all unless we have the karma for it
Exactly.
to work. So even Tonglen, even doing the preliminaries, they're not going to help us to improve our meditation because we are doing the preliminaries or things like
Right.
that.
Right.
But it's still, yeah, this is for me an ongoing, how to say, debate with myself, like what for, what Joanna was saying before. When you are a bit in a crisis, it's like what for? Okay, what is it making me different to others not knowing this? Because at the end, even if I know that it is my karma or my seeds and I have the power to change my reality, it takes time. So during this time I'm still suffering. And then what for? Then better I just, I don't know, try to enjoy the mundane
Right.
whatever pleasures, and
Right.
then don't suffer knowing that is my fault.
Right, right. We need to make that connection between our behavior now and some future experience. And until we have that connection like so clear in our mind, we will be with Louisa in her conundrum. Right? I'm still there with you, Louisa. You know, not as strongly as you're still in, but I get it. Right? This belief in things is being what they are in the way that they are is so overpowering because it's so in every seed, 65 per instant. And when we have the good seeds to hear, oh, the pen thing, so be nice no matter what, eventually your life will change. We have enough seeds to go, oh, that sounds good, I'll try it. But if we don't have enough seeds to see results fast, we end up in this, I'm trying, and things are just getting worse and worse and worse. It is going to make us doubt. It is going to make us struggle. And when we're off there all by ourselves trying to do it, like Louisa is, it's like it's really hard to cling to that understanding based on the goodness of past faith without having some kind of support system that helps reinforce, no, it's our planting. It's our planting. We're all in reaping mode. And so we think that the reaping, right, is the result. And it is the result of past. But we're trying to shift into this, no, okay, my focus of my what's enjoyable is my planting. So yeah, I'm seeking out pleasant circumstances so that I can share them with somebody else. Here, let's go for coffee instead of me go for coffee. Oh, let's, right? And that's where we get off automatic pilot. It's fine to enjoy pleasant things. Share them. Well, I'm all by myself all day. Who do I share it with? You know, get a goldfish, share it with the goldfish, offer it, right? There's always enlightened beings aware of what you're doing. Offer it. So even when we're all by ourselves, we can still be in this plant mode. And it is so hard, right? I hear myself saying it as if I'm doing it all the time. And I'm not either. Right? Because our seeds that ripen are seeds of being in reap mode. So we really are swimming upstream with our own self. But our own self doesn't end here, as Master Shantideva teaches, right? Look, really, can you find the edge of yourself? Where does your self end? Where does your self begin? Where does your self stay? Where does your self stop? We could go back through chapter 7 again, looking at self as a functioning thing. Yeah. Yes, Joanna.
I think in this way, Elsie's Tonglen is helping because it's planting the seeds and creating the causes for future. It's a good reminder. It won't help in the situation right now, like from its own side anyway, but it's creating causes. And if we would do it on the breath, for example, when we are walking, but we need always a reminder that strikes us at the
Yeah.
moment. And that's keep or getting us off of the automatic pilot. But if it would be the natural mode to just do Tonglen, or I mean, being so aware that we always plant with mindful seeds, then it would be different. And with this non-existing, with this, for me, it's hard to. In Mahayana, we say that everything it is real because it's our seeds. So they are out there, not existing. They are existing physically because it's part of my seeds, ripening them in the physical form. So
Yes.
so they are there, but it's still my creation thing. And then we say, yeah, they don't have a self-existent like body, and they are not out there like we usually think they are. And then we get more subtle, and then we say, but there's a mind stream. But this is not existing there outside itself on its own by itself
Exactly.
anyway. Also, and so this is. I was wondering that even if we create the Buddha paradise, and to get there, if we are those bodhisattvas that I come on, bring on those situations, I will just happily do it and be the peacock and eat the poison. I'm not running away. I'm not doing anything. I'm just staying here in the middle of the battle and whatever. And then we say, then those people get less and less and less, so I don't see them anymore. And then we are back to this question. Yeah, but then you have a Buddha paradise. You want to help other people, but you don't have them anymore because you just got rid of all the people that need help. You and this
Yeah.
like really in this end, I just get lost in this end. It's like there's no mind streams there that I can help, so I don't see it as a person anymore, but still it's a mind stream, and I think it's self-existent. It's like this can't be true neither, so
Right.
it's still
That was
so
a
you're
clue
planting
for
mode.
Elsie. What you observed, you have to get worse before you get better. Elsie is like, he has to get worse before they'll help him. So the way through is to get worse before we get better. It's so silly, but there it is.
And I had a similar situation. I was thinking when Elsie told it, it really struck me that in my case, I'm just not moving myself, but in a part that I don't know yet. I think I'm doing all the time, and I'm active and progressive towards whatever there is coming, but there must be some part of me, and the problem that I have with someone who is not moving, that I want to move, that there must be some part of my life, something where I'm just not moving, where I'm so stuck and I just don't know yet where. It's just driving me a little nuts actually last hour. So thank you for bringing it up anyway.
So did Elsie's Tonglen help the ant or not?
It helped Elsie, dear Lama, in the future. Her motivation was to help her aunt.
Right.
And that's planting kindness and love and so many things. But I think I'm very pragmatic in the way I think during analyzing certain things. I think she wants to affect her aunt with her love, with her compassion.
Mm-hmm.
That's really wonderful. But her aunt's seats are her aunt's seats, right? Although she can go out there and talk to her aunt physically instead of doing the Tonglen and trying to remind her of those nice things that she had planted in the past. So she can probably water some seeds. I mean, and they might ripen, but it's up to her aunt's karma to know to see if they're going to ripen or not. I don't know.
So
For
Elsie's
example,
past goodness made the Tonglen that she did during the time the ant was suffering appear to help the ant's suffering be reduced. And it seemed like everybody involved with the ant also saw the ant's suffering reduce. But we don't know what the ant saw.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, for example, in my world, I spent about 3-4 days outside the intensive care unit. Okay. There was a dear friend, a relative of us. He had a kidney for transplant for 28 years. Okay. His kidney was doing good. But imagine his heart started getting swollen with 2 liters of water inside a membrane.
Yeah.
So he went into ICU. They did some surgery to try to drain that water. But meanwhile, in the ICU, there was this beautiful, amazing doctor who lived in our home for about a year. They just gave us the house this past January, dear Lama. And when they came back from their honeymoon, that's where they lived for over a year.
Right.
And we were so happy that they bought their new home. And we really celebrated with them. And they would come every month here at home to deliver the rent money. And they would always bring something to offer me, some kind of small, unique gift. But every single month was the same. So we really loved them. And I think they really loved us as well. She died, Lama. I
The
don't know what
doctor
happened.
died?
She died. The doctor died. Carolina died.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
my brother-in-law, who's had kidney, who has right now a carcinoma in his face, so many things going on with him for so many years, he survived. He's out of the ICU now since yesterday, right? And Carolina, a 35-year-old woman, a doctor who's prepared herself to serve the world, to help people, who's been helping people, right?
Yeah.
Her life just ended.
Ugh.
So imagine, and I was doing Tonglen, and I
Yeah.
was doing everything, and the result was so different,
Yeah. What would
right?
you
So
say about that? Like, doesn't that, a part of me goes, well, proof that this system doesn't work. But
I
it's
wouldn't say
not
that it
that,
doesn't work.
right?
I wouldn't say that it doesn't work. The conclusion that I got to is that Carolina was such an amazing being that the Buddhas didn't want her in the suffering world anymore.
Yeah.
That's my conclusion.
Yeah. That's a helpful one.
Yes, because she had everything. I mean, you can't explain a healthy woman that suddenly she gets ill, she goes into the surgery room and she's fighting for her life, and you expect she's in the best hospital, the best care, the best doctors,
And has all
everything.
those good seeds.
He has all those good seeds, and at the end, she doesn't make it.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law, on the other hand, he's gone in and out of the hospitals, spent so much money.
Yeah.
Now with the carcinoma, just one medicine cost 80,000 pesos. That's a lot of money. Just one injection.
Yeah.
And you go, and he's still living and happy and getting through all of these things with a 28-year-old kidney.
Yeah, that's, I don't know,
I
that,
know.
that starts me in this whole thought process about is dying such a bad thing, and when we reassess that opinion, that belief, then it actually starts to make more sense. It's like, no, it's not a failure of the system, it's proof of the system. Like, she's in Buddha paradise now.
I know. I think she is. I really do think she is. I think the Buddha said, "Oh, the world doesn't deserve you."
Right. But
You're too good to
that's us justifying, right? It's thus trying to make sense without losing our worldview of how can something so terrible happen.
To say that there's the Buddhas and they didn't want, for me, it's always, I wonder about this full responsibility. And if
Yeah.
it's really all my creation, then I create a world where a young person, a good person, who's ready to serve the world is dying, and another person who, against all predictions, survived for a long time. So it always throws me back on this is my seeds ripening in this way, and it is unjust or something else, and I have to find a way to create a world that doesn't have these kind of, well,
Yeah.
we want to stop aging and dying anyway if we go for the big goal. So, and then I think for me it's to keep the thought that there is no person out there with their own karma. It's always trapping me up into there's some self-existence. So this is the part where I struggle, because then I'm blaming other things that are again not from me, and
Right.
this is a thing that I'm still working on. So for me it would be rather the analysis of what is it in me that is creating what I experience, and
Right.
that I see this kind of suffering in my world.
Yeah.
So when I come back to Elsie's aunt, which is still not really solved
Yeah.
somehow, so she created with her seeds that she had from the past the situation that the Tonglen helped for a moment, and it is beautiful that she did again Tonglen, so in future some other good results will ripen.
Right.
And it was maybe also part of this ripening that some people thought the aunt is not doing well, while Elsie thought she's doing well. And we
Right.
don't know what Elsie's aunt might have thought, but it's all part of our ripening. So
Right. So we're the only one that matters.
mm,
I don't think
Yes
so,
and
Dear Mom.
no.
I think
Right.
yes and no, and I think this responsibility part is really nagging me, because there's, if I go to people who I see who have problems and tell them it's your karma, it's just not helping.
No,
I
it
don't
doesn't.
I don't like this answer myself. If someone is
Right.
just telling me, like, you go for advice, and then they say, "Yes, there's a karma." So
Yeah.
yeah, I know. So what am I going to do with this now?
Right.
So
Right.
and this is really the tricky part. So to really see that that there is still this helplessness. So maybe the omniscience part is the missing piece. We need
Yeah.
this being really sure of what really helps now to create a world that is free of this suffering, and we don't know, and that's why we just
Right.
stack
Right.
and do what best we can. But it's not that we don't, that nobody else matters. They matter because they show us what we need to do,
Right.
but we just misunderstand the message main of the time, I think.
Right.
It's like,
We're trying so hard to blame them.
yeah.
Yeah. Because who wants to be responsible for all this suffering? Yeah, I want to be responsible for all the happiness, but I don't want to be responsible for all the suffering. Well, sorry, honey, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it either way. It's all or nothing. Wait, yikes. It's
That's
too
why we have
much.
devil and God, right? I think
Yeah.
now it really makes sense. You have always someone to blame and someone to cheer.
Yeah.
Would we blame Buddhas? It's interesting.
Your own Buddha, your own future Buddha.
You made this. This sucks. Oh.
Yeah. Are we produced things?
I would say so.
I would say so. Are we produced things from our own side? No, and
Inadvertently.
that's why we can be produced things. Get it?
Right.
Says Hearts or
Yes.
Diamond Cutter Sutra. Because we have no nature of being a produced thing, we function.
That's what we do.
Because Elsie's aunt had no nature of being a suffering auntie who was dying, she died. Arya Nagarjuna. So chapter 7, he says, look, you said I do so exist because I do stuff. In response to chapter 6 that said, you, the desirer, have no nature. I do so because I do stuff. Well, let's look at how doing stuff works. Chapter 7. Where's chapter 8 gonna go? Is our Kachik gonna say at the end of chapter 7, oh, you're right. I'm not a functioning thing at all. No. We're gonna dig in and say, I do so do stuff. And that's gonna be chapter 8. The agent and the action. Right? So we'll go into chapter 8 as a review because we've done it all before. Hopefully we can get through it. But so think about it during the week. As you are acting, can you find the difference between reacting and responding? Right? React, I'm using that word to mean that thing happened to me, which means my belief is, right, the ignorance. And then my emotion, my thought, whatever it is, my reaction comes up and I do it. So automatic. Versus that process starting and going, oh, I'm going to choose my response. It may be the same one, but I'm going to choose it. Respond. See if you can catch that. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help. We have planted seeds such that we will someday help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. We don't need to be in any big hurry to tell them about it. Just know that you're on your way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. The effort is more important than the actual result. I'm going to go out on a limb. And then think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy beings. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, support you, encourage you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And then carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with loving kindness. And may it be so. Okay. Thank you for everyone for your insights and hard work. That was very fun.
Thank you, Lama. Thank you,
Thank you, dear
everyone.
Holy Lama. Can you say just a minute, dear Lama, please?
Yes, I
1
can.
minute.